Hello, Travis here, and welcome back to another episode of Factorio Space Age. In the last episode, I believe we built another furnace stack. These things are so much fun to make, aren't they? But anyway, the reason why we're making the furnace stack is again because our starter iron pads ran dry on our starter base, and as we transition into the next factory build, um, I'm gonna need to kick their thing. This does leave me in a bit of a unique situation because for all this time we've kind of been managing the biters outside of our pollution cloud, making sure they don't get polluted. But in this case, while we can keep the biters pretty far away, and in fact I probably should get rid in this episode. I should probably get rid of this nest, but the, even with all these efficiency modules, um, and then we're gonna be putting efficiency modules wherever we can, just because it it makes the power grid easier to manage and puts out less pollution. Uh, we won't be able to. It'll be difficult to contain this. We'll eventually have like a secondary pollution cloud down here, and once we get the factory up here going, it's probably gonna be thing. We're which means we're going to need to get defenses going in. Which leads me to another thing I like to discuss. Um, this is a bit of a admittedly this is a bit of a big territory to control. Uh, for mm, if we're getting off of the planet, this is probably a bit overkill of a perimeter, but of my logic and reasoning, and I could probably there's definitely some room to chop off some of this northern territory. I could probably even. I'm kind of trying to follow natural terrain. Like I want that this water biters cannot pass through it, so this is a relatively safe corridor. This also creates a kind of a choke point where there's less biters that can assault my base from. This lake down here, same deal, keeps biters. And also I'm also trying to follow as much as it clefts. Because while we can't get rid of clefts yet, uh, we kind of want to keep these clefts around for a little bit. Because again, they're natural barriers. They're basically free walls. But yeah, we'll want to of course, these biter bases out here are going to be a bit of a nuisance, but they're not as big a deal because a lot of the immediate pollution will happen down here. So the next few episodes are going to be focusing on starting our defensive perimeter and kind of my idea of how I'm going to do that. Start train logistic. You might notice that these gray lines that have appeared on my map. Uh, I'm just kind of just starting to plot out the backbone of my early rail network. I won't be needing a whole lot of rails because due to honestly the ridiculous resource luck. And speaking of 3,500% yield, that is the biggest oil patch I have ever seen. And there's even a 1500 over here. There's 5,000% yield down here. Absolutely ridiculous. Nasa. If you want to, try play this seed for yourself, this is the seed right here. You'll start right here. Your oil, as I've already seen, is going to be out here. There's a lot of centralized coal. These would be user patches, and again, there's a reason why I haven't been touching these so far. I'll probably be pulling from this copper patch, this stone patch. I'm probably going to be splitting this between bring for military and productions, purple science, and making concrete. Concrete's a pretty useful uh, resource, but it's kind of a bit of a weird one, and I'll go over that when we actually start making concrete. For the time being, let's talk defenses. And there's a lot of ways we can go about this, really. The premises of a start with walls. Walls are basically, of course, the framework of our defenses. And the wall is fairly there's not much to talk about the wall, in all honesty. It's I wouldn't say cheap, but fairly inexpensive way of keeping biters, telling biters to get off my lawn. Well, actually, that would be incorrect. Ow. Weapons, they're basically, if the weapons are telling biters to get off my lawn, the wall is basically saying, and stay out. We'll want to extend out. And of course, it will kind of thing. I can't get through, biter, neither can the biters. However, what if I wanted... There is a way we can get through this wall, and it's through a gate. It kind of opens automatically and closes. And the neat thing is that if you're running a train line through a wall with gates, it will let trains through. We're gonna extend this is probably the first time we've actually used walls. Because again, biter management is easy enough in the early game that you don't really need to confine yourself to a tiny box. That's kind of a kind of I made little like coat boxes in the past, and well, they're fine. But the thing about if you want to expand, you kind of have to move your walls, then your turrets, and then the belts like carrying ammo around. So, just kind of, well, in a way, the biters are However, walls can't do anything to myself. They have 350 hit points, which is not bad. With quality, it can get better. Of course, these gun turrets I've been using, they're not like, I've been using them mostly offensively. But in the way that I want to use them for this, I'm going to use them defensively. And I'll kind of talk about that as I take care of this nest. So there's again a lot of different There, of course, the gun turret. You can kind of see its range. And it takes the thing, takes the... so... This, of course, isn't the only turret, as I've probably talked about in the past. But it's pretty... There are many different... There's a... There's many different... And with Space Age, there's a lot of even more turret variety. Alright, now that that is all out of the way. Let me get behind my mystical barrier and so a little while ago, I believe we had flamethrowers and we got flamethrowers. Of course, there's a flamethrower turret. Well, Travis, you talked also you praised the flamethrower turret so much, and you've kind of talked about how, oh, it's so strong. I think, why don't you have it? And my answer is I kind of forgot to. Yeah, I kind of just forgot to make but and honestly, I uh flamethrower turrets have been kind of a bit of a farm because of course they need engine units, and again, engine units cannot be handcrafted. They also kind of they're not exactly super fast to craft. But I'll kind of show you this is I'm in the remote view, so this is so you can kind of see the Flamethrower turrets are unique. And for starters, they don't require power. It's a bit of a strange thing, but it's a benefit. Instead, they require a fluid input. You can kind of see on the side here. It takes one of three any one of these three fluids: crude oil, heavy oil, and light oil. Um, Honestly, they don't really. There's not really a huge difference between I mean, of course, crude oil, basically, it shoots out this big plume when an enemy enters range. Kind of shoots at this plume of napalm, like burning oil out, and it kind of leaves a trail of burning oil on the ground. Um, Now the flamethrower, the attack itself isn't like super strong, but the thing about flamethrowers, it's not exactly the projectile that's thing. Like biters will almost often get past the initial projectile. It's not the initial attack the thing. It's the burning trail the thing, because biters take a lot of fire damage, and it kind of just mulches the thing. So it kind of is if the biter's like a. I haven't exactly been able to demonstrate pretty well, but biters kind of attack in like a big group, and if the flamethrowers aim well enough, it'll basically kind of spit roast the entire group. So, all right. So, for the flame for the also, it's worth noting that flamethrowers, unless they're going constantly, which in some situations they might as well be. Oh, I just realized I was just standing in the. So we are going to run a bit of a way. We're probably going to be using flash because they don't require power and they kind of don't use a lot of oil. They're kind of not a huge strain on our capacity. So we're and going back to what I was talking about with like the different oil types, there's not really a huge difference. Crude oil, basically, I believe crude oil basically gives 100% damage. This gives 105% damage, and light oil gives 110. And because light oil is pretty common from heavy, because we get a lot of light oil from our from advanced oil processing. There's really no point in like not using flamethrower. For some sections, I'm going to be initially relying on gun turrets. Do I have land? But basically, what we're gonna kind of do is have a line of turrets. As so. And eventually my idea is, I've done this, many times. Basically have a, belt running, just behind the... just behind the gun turrets, although... it's not, it's alright. And basically, there'll be ammo on this belt, and basically, when the gun turrets are empty, inserters will take from the belt and put them into the turrets. Automated turret defense. Now, I was fine with the idea, and then I remembered, oh yeah, I want to defend all this. So I was kind of thinking, that's a lot of turrets, and eventually, turrets are going to be, therefore, eventually when we, actually complete our perimeter, we're going to be using laser turrets. Laser turret. Now, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not as some. I wasn't always super big on laser turrets, and mostly because they're not exactly cheap. They need 12 batteries and 20 steel, which isn't super bad. But the steel is annoying to smelt. The batteries are annoying to make. It does need 20 green circuits, but that's not a huge deal. But the other, if you notice down on the bottom, laser turrets, instead of consuming ammo, they consume energy. And basically what it is basically kind of a single target pew pew laser, and it kind of it's basically a gun turret, but with a laser instead of bullets. Now, it's not all, that's fine and dandy, but when the lasers are going full tilt and you're going to have multiple lasers going on all at once, usually with they usually kind of like focus on a single enemy all at once or whatnot. It kind of eats into the power, and this, even with the minimum consumption of 24 kilowatts. Keep in mind, a solar panel only puts out 60 kilowatts. A single solar panel have, can support basically 2, maybe 3 turrets on idle, but you need 20, 180. need at least we need several of these to basically reliably. Fortunately, there is and when you kind of have power spikes, it affects the rest of the factory, and that's kind of over reliance on laser turrets when you don't have a healthy power grid. Often leads to the kind of a death spiral of the power grid where it can't get enough power to the thing and kind of spirals down until you get like a brownout and then a blackout. Fortunately, there is a way we can get power, get a lot of power for and that is nuclear power. Nuclear power for the longest time has been kind of the be all end all of power solutions, and it's really and with space age it only gets bit. Granted, there is a there's an even better thing called fusion power, but we we won't be seeing fusion power for a long time. Nuclear power, however, is aside from that pretty chunky crafting recipe. Yes, that is 500 concrete. This is why we need the concrete, by the way. One of the 500 red circuits, 500 steel, and 500 copper. Nuclear reactors aren't that cheap, but there's a reason why they're kind of basically I'll go over nuclear power, but if we slap down even a underpowered nuclear reactor, it will blow this and this out of the water. And we kind of also want to have the solar power going because in the daytime the solar power can provide for the factory, and then at night both the accumulators and the nuclear power can kick in and yeah. So the plan is for the time being is once we another way we can basically uh, we can kind of slow down the biters with what we call this is what we call dragon's teeth. They're kind of you might just know in like World War II with all like those metal like spikes things on like Normandy to keep the Allies out of Europe. But basically, what these do is they basically kind of mess with the biters' path fighting. So they kind of have to like snarf their way through. So the idea of Dragon's Teeth, especially when you're using like a laser and flamethrower turrets, is you're basically kind of stalling for time. And this will probably definitely see more action once we start polluting and biters will, and we start triggering attacks. Basically, they'll kind of run, and they can't. They won't. The spitters will kind of just start tagging the dragon's teeth as normal, but the biters, the biters themselves will try to path towards the gun turrets and whatnot, but they'll kind of like bonk into the walls and that will slow them down. And that will buy the flamethrowers time to basically deploy their flammable payload. Unfortunately, due to our iron shortage, we can't really do much. But these sort of next few episodes are kind of more so preparing for to kind of spin up production. So yeah, the Dragon's Teeth also kind of looks pretty cool on. So yeah, you can kind of see. There's different Dragon's Teeth design, and the kind of the goal of a Dragon's Teeth is, of course, to basically waste the biter's time. Alright, but for the time being, I don't really have all. I don't anticipate until we get a proper belt and bot, and oh yeah, that's another one more thing that I kind of want to talk about. Construction bots, as I've demonstrated in the construction bot episode, they can repair walls. So kind of the idea to keep well, the walls will take damage, and then eventually when they hit zero, they'll get destroyed. And I see that's a sneaky biter expansion. You're not fooling me this time, suckers. I'll take care of that in between the next episodes. Though to be honest, I might do that in the next episode, taking that out. Probably expanded from out there. They're still kind of out of the thing, but again, these pump checks are pretty stinky, so. And since we were talking about turrets, I'll talk as a theme. Of course, when we get to Vulcan, we didn't have to go to Vulcanus before, because Vulcanus didn't exist. Kind of a dumb moment there. We had artillery. Now, artillery isn't a defensive weapon. It is very much an offensive weapon. But basically, it was one of the highest. It is not only it's one of the. It is the highest range turrets in the game. Like like it's probably and then there was also like the automatic firing range was probably maybe about to that stone patch from where I am at. And when you get into automatic mode, that's what this remote here, the range would go up pretty high. Now, when I say it's an offensive weapon, I mean that because it doesn't directly target. It does attack biters themselves, but rather it attacks biter bases. So the spawners, and it's both a expansion deterrent, so it will basically kill all the biter nests in range, and an offensive weapon. So if you're planning to expand, if I wanted to expand like down this way, and there's like a billion biter expansions, I could bring an artillery. I could deploy my artillery battery or bring an artillery train down because there's artillery wagons. And basically start blasting at the things. And of course the biters start streaming towards the thing. And that's why it's a offensive weapon, because artillery turrets on their own aren't very they need a defensive structure around them to keep them safe. And that's for the most part like that's for the most part the only and vanilla context, the only artillery. In Space Age, there's a lot more. You got Tesla turrets, you got rocket turrets, and we got railguns, all which are pretty cool. But you just have to. But unfortunately, we can't really talk about those turrets because we haven't even hit orbit yet. And getting to orbit, it will be kind of the goal of this next base, of which we will be continuing in the next episode. So yeah, I'm going to be calling it here. I know I didn't do a whole lot, but and then trying to keep it thing. I figured talking about how I'm going to defend my base while I'm gone by using a wall of a kind of a robo network that will distribute a robo or some repair packs to the walls soon. Although admittedly, robots are pretty dumb. They'll probably catch fire. There will be some losses I incur, but all in the name of progress, I suppose. But yeah, um, this is kind of my plans for the base defense, and of course, I will be eventually giving these turrets a supply feed. I might be using logistic box to kind of bring in ammo to where I need it. Well, this defensive scheme will evolve as we get deeper into the game. And next time, we'll probably be getting back into. We will be reviving the base probably, and talking about some of my favorite. One of my favorite aspects of the game, the train system. But we're just gonna have to find out next time how that goes. And again, if you liked my discussion on basically turning Factorio into a tower defense game, leave a like. If you have any questions or concerns, leave a comment down below. If you want to see more Factorio Space Age, subscribe and keep an eye on the playlist. And I will see you next time.